YOLO. Today, I'm gonna tell you the story of how I went from $0 to my name to a net worth of $100,000 within 2 years. And it was difficult and required a lot of sacrifice. Can people replicate what I did? Absolutely. Should people? I really hope not. I wouldn't want anyone to have to do what I had to go through. Alright, brief recap. I was an essential worker during the COVID pandemic, and when my apartment's lease came up, I moved back home with my parents, and then shortly after that quit that job because I had hated that job. Couldn't find another job for the life of me. I applied to a bunch of places, I did interviews, I even did those over-the-phone interviews because nobody wanted to meet in person since the world was ending, and I just couldn't get a job anywhere. I was depleting my savings. I had just a little bit of money left, and then the stimulus check came in, which was nice, and bumped my savings up to about $4,500. So I took that money and I enrolled into a trucking school. And the trucking school was going to start in May. But my dad was tired of me living at home for free because to him it looked like I was just being a freeloader, living at home, not getting any jobs. Even though I'm telling him, hey, I'm going to go do an interview or I'm going to be on a phone interview. So he wanted me out of the house. I had nowhere to go. My mom had convinced him to let me stay living at home until I finished the trucking school because I'd be able to at least have a skill set at that point. So W mom. But May came around. I went to the trucking school. It was a 2-week program and it cost almost everything I had. I barely had anything left. I remember calculating how much gas I could afford to put in my car and how many miles per gallon it would get to try and figure out if I'd be able to make it back and forth or if I'd have to try and bum 20 or 30 bucks off somebody to actually be able to make it to the classes. I was able to have enough to make it there with a little left over. So I needed to buy food because that was one thing, is my dad didn't want to have to feed me, which is fair. So what I ended up doing was I went to the grocery store and I didn't have hardly more than like a few bucks. And I found this bag of apples, and there were about 14 apples in there. And it was just, I think maybe the exact amount of money I had left after taxes, or just slightly short of it. But anyway, that's a small miracle. I was able to buy these 14 apples. And then every day I would wake up in the morning, I'd drive down to the trucking school, I'd do half a day's work where they do yard maneuvers, over-the-road tests, and other things. And then while everyone else took their lunch break and went to McDonald's or to Burger King, I sat in the parking lot studying the little study book and eating a single apple a day. That way I still had something to eat. And then the next day I would do the same thing over and over again. And I absolutely hated it because I have always had a big weakness when it comes to food. I like to eat. And then to end up spending the last 2 weeks eating nothing but 1 apple a day sucked. So I would definitely say the taste of hunger was a major factor in why I was so driven to get my first 100,000. During my time in the trucking school, a recruiter for a big flatbed company came out to where I was at, and I ended up talking with him. And after I got done with the trucking school, I went out to Iowa for a 2-week orientation. They put me up in a hotel. They got me a rental car so I didn't have to worry about anything like that. But the hotel I stayed at did not serve free breakfast. And their orientation classes gave free lunches, but they were giving things like pizzas or lasagnas, and I'm gluten and dairy intolerant. So I can't really be eating stuff like that and then going into a semi-truck and working for hours on training maneuvers without restroom breaks. So I had to skip lunches there. And then I had no money left over for dinners, so I didn't eat for, I want to say, 4 days straight. And on that Friday, because they would give training pay for those 2 weeks, when that first paycheck hit for $500 of training pay, I went, I ordered DoorDash to my hotel room, and I ate Red Robin. I ate 2 people's worth of food in one sitting. It was the best meal I've had that I can ever remember. Just the food tasted so good. Once I was done with orientation, I was put in my own semi-truck, and then I started making serious money. I would haul in typically $1,500 a week during like the average to slow season, and then during the summer months, because it's not really a seasonal job, but depending on freight prices it feels seasonal, I would be pulling in like $1,800 to $2,400 a week, and this is all before taxes. Now, I had gone home to visit the family one weekend because you stay out over the road for 5 days, then you come home for 2 with the company. And while I was there, my dad had told me that I need to sell my car because he doesn't like it just sitting there in the yard. And we have a small farm of about 15 acres, so it wasn't like it's sitting directly in a regular front yard, but just kind of on the land. And he needs to mow the land with his tractor, so it makes sense that it was kind of in the way, and there wasn't really anywhere else to put it. But it did kind of feel like a blindside to just be like, hey, you need to have this taken care of when I'm never at home to take care of it. So I asked Mama, so W Mom again, and she was able to get the car sold for me. And then I decided I'm just not going to buy another car because I don't have anywhere to keep it. And also, it's a monthly expense of insurance that's for a vehicle I'm never driving. So I haven't had a car in the past 4 years, and that's allowed me to save a lot of money. And I started living very frugally. I had no rent payments, no car payments. I had cell phone and mobile internet payment because I do like to do some gaming in the truck. And I had Spotify. But other than that, I didn't really have too many other big expenses besides feeding myself. And I was able to keep my budget very small and take the majority of my paychecks and sock it away into my investment account. I did fall for a few dividend traps early on in my investing career because I just literally didn't know any better. But over the next year to year and a half, while I was saving as much money as possible, investing almost every dollar I could, I would spend just hours listening to audiobooks on investing, on finance, a lot of the stuff which is very, very informational but boring to read on Warren Buffett. And I had read the Charlie Munger quote about how important it is to get to your first $100,000 and how things kind of get easier after that and you can let off the gas a little. So I was determined to get there as quick as I could. I had very low expenses, very high pay, and then the job started giving a bonus 1 to 3% per paycheck for every week you stayed out away from the home to go and get those really long haul runs out to like California or Texas. I'm from Michigan myself, so it would be impossible to get you back home within a week doing something like that. And since I don't have a wife or kids or girlfriend, I figured make hay while the sun shines. So I just started staying out for months at a time, collecting that extra 1 to 3% every single week because it's just free money at that point. And then I was able to super speed how fast I was putting money in, making my mistakes, learning from them, and growing my account balance. On top of that, I figured out a few different ways to tighten my belt and shrink my budget even further. I was able to save a very large amount of money over the course of those 2 years by not getting any haircuts. Instead, what I would do is I would just shave my head bald, and then I didn't have to pay for a haircut or give a tip because of course I'm going to always give a tip to the hairstylist who cuts your hair. And then I never had to pay for shampoo either because my head was bald, so it helped me save money. Then I started paying for my Spotify premium in 1-year gift cards instead of my monthly payments. By doing those kind of things, I was able to super speed how long it would take to hit my first 100,000. So within 2 years, I went from having nothing to my name, $0, and about to end up going negative because I'd be missing phone payments, to having a net worth of $100,000. And that's how I was able to get to a net worth of $100,000 within 2 years, starting from zero. Let me know in the comments below where you're at in your own journey towards $100,000 or more. It's very possible to do, and how long it takes is dependent on how much you make and how much you're willing to sacrifice. And I'm willing to sacrifice an unhealthy amount because I have incredibly large dreams and aspirations. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the flip side.